Okay, so this is step two of the demonstration I started last Monday night, the 31st of January. And the first thing I did was I sprayed it pretty heavy. I took it outside and I sprayed it quite a bit because I knew if things that were red or orange or even yellow weren't exactly in the right spot, I was going to need to go over them again. So I did spray it heavy, and then I just probably spent 20 minutes redrawing it. And I basically did a contour drawing. I know it's not perfect yet, but I do feel like I've made the drawing better. There was one white tulip in here that I didn't really notice before, and I made the decision just to go ahead and leave it out at this point. Yeah, okay, so now I'm ready to start working on my color again. And when things have been redrawn, I think the best thing is to go ahead and fill in places that you changed, so that you don't, I don't know, make a mistake about what goes where. Like a really good example of that is right here, there's not supposed to be yellow there, so I actually kind of rubbed it a little bit just so I could hopefully remember to make that the background. But I'm not going to start with the background. I'm going to start with getting the flowers in exactly the right spots. Okay. Oh, so much easier said than done, I guess. I had the same problem when I was getting ready to start the drawing. It was just like, oh, I just couldn't even decide like where to start. Okay. So the good thing about spraying is this might even be the same pastel I used before. I don't really know because I don't like save them out. Like I don't save the ones I used before like in a little pile. But one thing that's great is that after you sprayed it, it's like you've doubled the number of your colors because those colors now have gotten incredibly dark from being sprayed. And um, yeah, so now the next, even if you put the same color on, it's going to look lighter, and that's going to give more depth to your paintings. All right. And I'm still trying to, I mean, it's, really complicated, but I'm still trying to keep the colors, I don't want to get too carried away. Probably making this too light. I'm not sure, probably am. Oh, and I think I talked about maybe I was going to try to make it darker over here, the background, and then go lighter over here. So maybe, maybe that's what I'll really do. Look at this. I already don't know where my drawing. I already don't know what did I mean by that exactly? So, I know I talked about the other day about how it's a little bit hard, like yellow and white are hard colors to do. And one thing that'll really make white or yellow hard to do is if they're all in shadow, you don't have any place that's getting light on it. And I think what the deal is I think that you really show people the color of stuff in the light. So if you're convincing about it being white in the lights, then the shadows can be almost any combination of colors, as long as you've shown people it was white in the lights. And I learned this, of course, the hard way when I was doing a demonstration, and it was a White House, and I decided to do it when earlier in the day when the sun was shining on it, and then right after lunch, I didn't think of it. After lunch, I go to do my demonstration, and it's all in shadow, and I could not make that White House look white because I just couldn't, because like I was using all these other colors, purples, greens, blues, on the shadow of the house, And then, but there was no light, and so there was no white, so it just kept looking like it was a purpley yellowish green house, and so that was no good. So then luckily for me, a little bit of light showed up on that house, a little bit of the sunlight shone on that white house, and I was able to, just by putting in a little bit of the white color, I was able to, yeah, to make it look, I believed, I made it look convincingly like a White House. And so you can also see that, like at this point right now, each flower I'm working on longer. You know, in the beginning, I just really, actually, you know, I really like this technique, which I feel like I hadn't realized until just tonight how much I like this. Was that kind of? I mean, I tried to do a pretty accurate drawing, and then I started my color, and I just kind of went for it. I didn't worry too much about my drawing, and then to come back and just adjust my drawing now, I kind of like that. Um, Kind of felt like it, you know, kind of worked out better than some other things. It's also really hard, like right here, the light is shining through the flower, and that kind of light is kind of hard to get here. I guess it's shining. Yeah, it's shining through the flower because the light's coming from the right. And I think I mentioned that the Rembrandt whites or yellows are kind of cool. So you think of, you know, yellow as a warm color, but it just that, I mean, warm and cool, it just depends on what you compare stuff to. So some yellows are warmer than others, and some yellows are cooler than others. So that's why I almost always start with something warmer underneath my yellows and the oranges too. Start with something stronger. What are you? You're supposed to be this really dark place. Okay, moving right along. I was thinking I'm just gonna wait a few more minutes. I might even, you know, oh geez, that's too strong. I might even wait and redraw again just so I'm sure that I'm getting these black things in the right spot. I don't want to like just take my darkest color and start smearing it all around there. It might really cause some trouble for myself. So I'm just gonna wait on that. All right, well, you know, try not to think too much. Just do stuff. Oh yeah, and I wanted to talk about like flowers and stuff, flowers out in gardens or flowers in bouquets. This one, you know, I cut most of the leaves off because, yeah, I just did. The tulip leaves is just like enough already, but probably I should have left a few, right? Because one way you really tell people what kind of flower stuff is by the leaves. And well, tulips are very distinctive, but so are their leaves. So if you have a few leaves, it can be pretty helpful. Um, I used to, before I moved to Vermont, I was so amazed by people that could tell what plants were what just by looking at the leaves without the flowers. But now I realize that as a painter, you really need to know what the leaves of stuff look like. Yeah, and I can see that, you know, some of my spacing isn't quite right. between these flowers. So I just wanted to try a little background right in there and see. Yeah, just, oops, I moved the camera. Just see how that was going to look over there. And I'm sort of feeling better about it now because I wasn't sure they were dark enough. But once I got that background in there, I think I can see that they are in fact dark enough. And I talked about before, I know that red is such a pain in pastels. So this is like one of my good purples. And then I'm gonna see about putting some more red on top of it. Like that might be the end of what I could do in that area, but I have a pretty good surface because of course I'm using this more expensive paper, the Pastel Premier, and also because I sprayed it so hard. You know, red is a problem everywhere in a way because like in oil paints, it's really hard to make a light red without making a pink. So right. So my super good friend and amazing artist, Daryl Stores, when she does pastels, she doesn't let herself use more than like a handful, and then she keeps them separate in a little envelope, you know, marked what painting they're for, because her work, anyway, it helps, gives her work a ton of consistency. And you know, I don't think I have used maybe how many colors now? One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8. I've used about 11 or 12 colors so far, just right now. So I would say I use the same ones quite a bit. Sometimes with flowers, you want to be sure that you don't um, use the same color too long. Um, Especially if you have a lot of, like if you're out in a field and you're doing flowers and there's a lot of the same kind of flower, um, you have to lie a little bit about that because each, you know, because you can't really see that there's a lot of variety. Let's just think red geraniums, you know, if you're doing a bunch of red geraniums on a porch or something, they just kind of all look kind of the same red. But if you do that, it just doesn't look very good in my opinion. It looks just too fake because if you think about each petal is facing the light or in the shadow at a slightly different angle. And so if you can't see it, then you have to lie about it. And I think, and not everybody does. I've certainly seen plenty of pictures where every single geranium was the exact same color red. But I don't know, it just doesn't appeal to me. So, okay, so right now I've made I'm worried maybe I made that too light, those little background holes. So I just am trying to use some dark colors in here. The only kind of rule I would make about that is that you have to be sure, like right now, it looks like I have some white flowers that are painted green on the other side. So you have to be sure that you use enough variation of color in there to not make it look like it's too much one thing or the other when you're doing white and shadow. And I think I'm just going to see what's going to happen if I use some. I need to know if I can get this light enough, or if I'm going to need to darken the background. Yep, I messed up that drawing right there. But it's okay. You know, I personally cannot think about everything at the same time. And that's why I separate my drawing step from my painting step. And so mostly I'm trying to paint right now. And then if I have some drawing issues, which I keep making them for myself, I'll redraw again before I work on it. Because for me, it's just too hard to do both at once. I need to be able to um, devote my attention to one or the other. I think I can talk a little about it because I can talk while I'm painting. I mean, I'm having obviously a little trouble tonight, but I can talk while I'm painting because that talking is a right brain activity and painting is a left brain activity. So I decided I had in fact made it a little too light in there, so I'm just going to start darkening my background. And really important thing is don't change colors behind something else. So like if I stop this color here, then it would just look like it ran into this. So I'm going to bring it over here some, and I'm going to, we'll see what I do over there. Okay, so my big goal here in this time, which is flying by, is to get it all covered again. Okay, so, oh, another thing I wanted to show you, if I can, if there's any way I can. Let me just get my charcoal again right here. So when you're looking at this flower right here, so here's sort of the, that's the little frilly part. And then in here you can see a little bit of the base. And then what happens, yeah, whoops, I totally misread that. Well, let's say if you could see some of this right here, it would follow that. It would complete that circle. And somehow I thought that's what was happening there, but now as I look again, I see it's not really, so never mind. Okay, so I feel like that circle in there is pretty dark green. I think these are wicked hard to do, all of them, if they're facing you like this. And what I would say is maybe if you're doing tulips or something, don't let all of them face you. It's like if you have a bunch of the same thing in a painting, a bunch of tulips or whatever, then you have a chance to, you can give people lots of different opportunities to figure out what's going on. If you're just painting one of something, sometimes I think that's quite a bit harder. Yeah, oh God, one time I was doing this painting and I had all these little seashells in it. And then I guess after I started, I decided the composition wasn't that good. And so I started taking seashells out until I just had one seashell left. And then you couldn't tell what that seashell was at all because the one I left was, holy cow, the one I left there was just not, it just wasn't obvious at all what it was. It was really embarrassing. And I'd been doing it as a gift for somebody. And when I took it to them, they're like, oh, but what's this thing right here? It's like, oh, yes, that thing right there was a seashell. And there used to be a bunch. And then you could really tell what they were. And anyway, it was pretty embarrassing. And anyway, so leaves are something that can help you with that too, because they are, especially if someone knows, then if someone knows their plants and their leaves and all, it's just another way to tell the story. Like lilacs, you know, lilacs have really specific kinds of looking leaves, and sometimes it's really hard to do a painting of lilacs. But if you combine the information about what the leaves look like and what the flowers look like, then that gives you more than you would have otherwise. Oh, here's that place. Okay. And then remember, all you're trying to do is make it better. You're not trying to make it perfect. I mean, you might be trying, but let's face it, it's not. I mean, for some of you maybe, but it's not happening for me. So rather than make myself just completely, um, I don't know, anxious, worried, I just go with, okay, better. Did I make it better? That's all I ask of myself. Make it better. Make it better. And then a lot of times, if I start getting just the answer keeps being worse, 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 you're making it worse, then that's the time to either, take a break, or maybe you're actually finished with that pain by then. So, all right. I really don't know what I've done here, but it doesn't seem. So sometimes, like right here, I'm actually drawing because I can't remember what my drawing meant there. So I know it's sort of dark all through here, and then oh, that's supposed to be the yellow one right there. Okay, golly, I'm so confused. All right, so I think that's this one and this one. And I guess what this means up here is that this, whoops. I am going to spray this again before next Monday night. So even though I got that a little lighter than I meant to right there. And I'm not, you can see I'm still not worrying about, because back to the you can't do everything at once problem, I'm not really worrying about covering up my charcoal lines particularly. That's kind of the thing, is like if you come back and you start worrying about things like that, it's like your mind has to go back to drawing, and I just am trying to keep concentrating on my color, even though I got some drawing problems still. So I think maybe you would think this is a pretty tight drawing, right? It's tight in the idea that I'm trying to make it accurate. Okay, so that's that. This is that. This is in there. Yeah, so it's a pretty tight drawing, but I think that the tightness of the drawing allows me to be looser with the color. Anyway, I hope that's the deal. And remember, people paint for different reasons, and that doesn't mean that, I mean, anybody's reasons are just as valid as anyone else's reason. I mean, this thing that you're trying to paint to make money, there's something kind of creepy about that too. Something more creepy. So, um, I think there's something to be said for painting because you love to paint. Of course, at some point it's nice to sell something so you can buy more paints, because they are pretty expensive. All right, so I don't know, things are really messed up down in this little region. I think that when I was drawing, this was the last place I came to, and I just got tired. So I'm just gonna, oh no, why'd you do that? Okay, so I'm just gonna get the rest of it covered, And then I'm going to call it quits for tonight because it has been almost 30 minutes now. I don't know if this is faster. Like, I just don't know because I don't usually time myself. But what I don't know is this faster than I normally work, or but I'm kind of guessing it might be pretty fast. So I don't think any of you should feel like you have to paint this fast. But on the other hand, I do really feel that just thinking endlessly about what you're doing doesn't really help you. That it's better just to do stuff and see what happens, see the effect of it. And yeah, oil painting, you could work on the same oil painting like the rest of your life and you would never have to stop. But it's kind of a good thing with pastels, I think, that you have to stop. Like, you come to the end of your paper, you come to the end of your rope, and then you just start something new. And if you feel that, I feel like the point of painting is to learn more, not just to repeat what I've already done. Yeah. I don't know how people stand at the boredom of just doing what they already do over and over. But people do that. So I'm definitely drawing right this minute, just trying to get this under control. Really can't tell what's going on right there. But I'm gonna quit. And because it's just really, when you need to redraw, you should just redraw. Like, why are there two of these out here? Wait, I'm gonna get rid of one of them. One of them is a remnant from another time. I just cannot do both things at the same time. So I'm going to come back after I spray it. I'll redraw this some more. I didn't really cover the whole background. Interesting. One thing sometimes people do, it's kind of a trick to make your painting look more, the center part, like your subject, look more finished, is that they leave the background really unfinished. So I think it's kind of a trick, but it's a trick that actually works. So. Okay, so that's it for now, and I'll see you all, I hope, on Monday night, and please keep those paintings rolling in to my email because I love to see them. Okay, good night.